Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how I invest and save my money in my 20s. If you're new around here, my name's Bryce and I have been working in and around finance for the past 5 years, and specifically in financial planning for just over a year and a half. And on this channel we talk all things money, career and lifestyle. If you're new around here, make sure to subscribe, like the video and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future posts. Okay, firstly, we're going to start off with the foundation of creating a good financial life, and that is the emergency fund. An emergency fund is basically just a cash buffer that's set aside that's easily accessible if anything crops up in your life that requires a cash amount for. For example, an unexpected car bill, a house repair, something like that. And the reason that an emergency fund is so important is because if you want to then go on to invest your money, investing should be seen to be over the long term. Therefore, if you get hit with any unexpected bills, you don't want to be dipping into your investments whilst the markets are down. Because as we know, investment markets are volatile. Therefore, we want to leave them in there for the long term. And that's where the emergency fund comes in. So I hold my emergency funds with Marcus, which is a really good online bank. It offers a half decent interest rate and it's easily accessible. And in this account, I hold around about 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. And to do that, I had to firstly learn to budget first, which is number one rule. And then secondly, know exactly how much I'm spending month to month. And then therefore, I hold roughly 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in that account. And the account is easily accessible, it's not invested, but it just earns kind of a low interest rate. And if you want to do that, you may want to shop around to see what the best interest rates are at the point that you set up your emergency fund. Just make sure it's easily accessible and the money's not invested. So now that we've got the emergency fund, we can start beginning about thinking about investing. So I like to invest my money in the most tax efficient manner possible. So therefore, the first investment I'm going to talk about is my stocks and shares ISA. I hold my stocks and shares ISA with Vanguard. And the reason I picked Vanguard is they're pretty affordable, they have low cost for investing and holding the funds on their platform. They're easily accessible in terms of they have a good web page, although they don't have an app, which other bigger providers do. Their website is still pretty good and packs a lot of good tools and features. If you do want to see some of those tools, check out my other video on my Vanguard account. And if you're unfamiliar with what a stocks and shares ISA is, it's basically a wrapper around the investments. So you have the wrapper, then within that you have the investments that you hold, which I'll go on to. But basically the wrapper ensures that the money inside is invested in a tax efficient manner, so you're not liable for capital gains or income tax on the amount that is invested. However, because of that, there is a restriction of £20,000 that you can put into ISAs per tax year. But for me, obviously, starting off in my career on a lower salary, that doesn't matter. And now that we've spoken about the tax wrapper that is the ISA, within there, the investment that I hold is the S&P 500 ETF, which is a Vanguard fund. And that's the only downside about Vanguard really, is the fact that they only offer their own funds. However, the performance has been pretty decent at a low cost within this ETF. If you're unfamiliar with what an ETF is, it's basically a basket of companies. So you put in, say, £50 and that's dispersed throughout all these different companies. And these ETFs usually track an index. So the S&P 500 that I'm invested in tracks the S&P 500 in America. Due to inflation being really high, if you know the effects of inflation on cash, then that's the main reason that I invest, just to try and make this money as inflation proof as possible over the long term. So if we go into the investment overview and we look at the investment performance in the S&P 500, you can see that it's returned pretty decent. So over the past 5 years, it's kind of been up and down, with one of the best years in 2018, 2019 being nearly 25%, which is pretty good. But as I say, I've been in there just over a year. So for 31st of December 2021 to 2022 was down 10.25%. But obviously, as I said, we're investing over the long term, so that doesn't really concern me. And this money, there isn't really a specific goal or a need for it at the moment. And then on to my second investment, which is a lifetime ISA, which I hold with Hargreaves-Lansdown. If you're unfamiliar with a lifetime ISA, is once again another tax wrapper, that individual savings account where the money inside is invested tax-free. However, this one's a little bit different in that it is for a specific goal. You can use them to save towards retirement, but typically people use them for first-time house purchases, and that is the main reason why I have a lifetime ISA. The benefits of a lifetime ISA are, again, that it's invested tax-free. You can keep it in cash and get a decent interest rate, or you can invest in shares. Then the best benefit of a lifetime ISA, in my opinion, is the government add 25% bonus onto the amount that you invest per tax year. However, again, nothing is free in life, so there is another restriction in that you can only put in £4,000 per tax year, and that £4,000 does make up the £20,000 ISA subscription overall per tax year. And as I said, I hold this investment with Hargreaves-Lansdown, and the reason for that really is that I used to hold my stocks and shares ISA there as well. It was the first provider that came up when I got into investing my money, and I don't mind them. They're not as cheap as other providers out there, but it's the original one that I had, and I do like the functionality. They have a good app, and the funds that I would like to invest are available on the platform. Vanguard don't currently offer a lifetime ISA at the time of recording this video. I would quite like to have both my investments under the same platform, so both held with Vanguard, because Vanguard's pretty cheap and competitive. However, they don't have that at the moment, so I just keep it with Hargreaves-Lansdown. Again, in this lifetime ISA, I do invest the money in an index. So the Hargreaves-Lansdown lifetime ISA is invested in the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap Index. So the reason that it's invested in this fund and not the S&P 500, the S&P 500 in my stocks and shares ISA is just limited to the US. So to add in some diversification into my portfolio, which is really important, I have this fund, which basically covers the whole world or most regions in the world, therefore gaining more diversification throughout my portfolio. Again, because it is an index fund, it is also really cheap and affordable. And the performance on it isn't too bad. Again, it's over the long term. For me personally, I'm sitting at a 1.55% gain, which of course isn't really great. But the fact that this money is invested for a goal of the deposit to my first home, I'm not too bothered about that. If it was really getting into the negatives, then I would probably sell down and move to cash, just because I'm hoping to buy a house in the next 2 to 3 years, which does meet my 5-year time horizon of when I started investing the money. It is worth noting that I do invest monthly into both of these accounts. I submit the maximum amount of contributions that can be paid into the lifetime ISA per month, and then the rest goes into the stocks and shares ISA. This is done through automation and setting up direct debits. So basically when I'm paid, the money's straight away paid straight out to Hargreaves-Lansdown and Vanguard. I don't even need to touch it, which is one of my favourite things, the automation of my money. And overall, I think that account is really important for me. The fact that you get 25% government bonus on top of the contributions is so valuable. I mean, there isn't really many other kind of accounts that you can get 25% basically free. So I think for young people, that is a really important thing. Of course, you can use this for retirement as well later on in life. However, for the purpose of buying a first-time house, that is the main reason that I have it. And that leads me on to my last account, which is another cash account. And this one is my favourite account, and that's my holiday fund. So the money in my holiday fund is just sitting in cash. Again, it is set up standing orders to automatically go out when I'm paid out to my Marcus account again. And that takes me on to my last point, which is a kind of bonus point, and that's about automation, which for me is the number one thing that if you want to get good with your finances, you really need to automate as much as possible. I have other videos on why I like automation and how I specifically implement automation in my finances. If you want to see that, check out my video here. So just quickly, one of the main reasons why I like automation when it comes to finances is because you set goals. So 5-year goals, 3-year goals, 1-year goals with your money. And typically humans kind of get too emotional about their money like they do with other parts of their life, and they get too involved. Therefore, if you set up automation, it doesn't matter how you feel on that day, that money is just paid out from your account once you're paid. Of course, you can stop them if you really need to stop them and you can't afford that, but that's why starting with that really good foundation of starting with the budgeting and then the emergency fund, automation is key. And that wraps up another video. Thank you for joining me again on the channel. I hope you found that useful. And if you have any other accounts that you think I should check out, comment them down below. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, like, hit the bell notification, and I'll see you in the next video.